the Joe Budden podcast, and with the cast on and off the mic. I like how Flip low-key but also very obviously slid back into showing up every episode again. And listen to this, it didn't even feel forced. And what's even crazier is the chemistry between Flip and Mona is going crazy right now. It's almost too much, but in a good way, because it's clearly trending upward. Who would have thought two wild, unfiltered personalities like that would actually click and become a strong duo? Oh wait, Joe probably saw this coming, and anybody who's watched their content outside the pod already knew they'd eventually mesh. But here's the real question. Why were they kept apart in the first place? Was Joe Budden trying to give Mona space to grow, or was he positioning her to take over that comedic lane? And I don't even like calling it comedic relief because that sounds like a side role. And let's be real, neither of them move like side characters. Ever since Flip came in, Mona hasn't been dominating the space the same way. But hold up, I started noticing something. And shout out to Flip for pointing it out first. They don't even give Mona room to speak anymore. That whole monologue segment, gone after one episode, like it never even had a chance to breathe. And now every time she tries to jump in, they just talk right over her like she's not even there. I've seen it too many times. They'll literally turn away mid-sentence and keep the convo going, especially when a joke is involved. And it's crazy because at first I was getting annoyed with her cutting in, like let the joke land, let the room breathe. But now it's flipped completely. Now I'm like, they won't even let her get her point off, even after the joke already hit and the room laughed. They just keep it moving, like, nah, we good, and shut it down. And the only reason I'm really locked into their dynamic now is because Flip is actively calling it out. Like, yo, let her finish, stop cutting her off. At first, I thought it was just part of the bit, but listen, now it's clear he actually sees what's going on behind the scenes. He's noticing how Joe, Parks, even Mark move when she's trying to talk, and he's making sure she gets that space. Okay, Flip, I see you. But now that opens a bigger question. Why separate them to begin with? Was it to avoid them teaming up and overpowering the room? Because if you watched how that Patreon episode ended, it was basically Flip and Mona running the show while Joe just sat there like, what is happening right now? And hold up, that might be exactly what he was trying to prevent. Because if they fully sync up like that, Joe might end up looking outnumbered on his own platform, and that's a tricky balance. But then I started thinking deeper, you know how I get. And listen to this, what if this is actually a bigger play? What if this is how Joe tests who stays and who goes? Because I've seen this pattern before. He'll start with the person who can handle the pressure, the criticism, the pushback. Almost like, let me experiment here and see how this plays out. And if you remember when Ish missed that episode, hold up, that might not have been random at all. Hold up, now it's starting to look like it's only been Ice missing episodes lately. So listen, we really got to watch what happens next. Because if Ish suddenly sits out while Ice shows up, that changes everything. Because if that doesn't happen, then you won't believe this. It might be a bigger play where even Flip gets rotated, just to prove nobody is untouchable. And now out of nowhere, Flip is back on every episode again, which makes it feel like a message is being sent. Like, yeah, anybody can get benched if needed. So if Ice shows up alongside Ish next episode, then hold up, we might have a real situation brewing. Because if that happens, then it would mean the so-called New York couch isn't being broken up evenly. It might be targeted. And let's not ignore it. Ice has been talking a little louder lately, chest out, energy up. So now I'm asking, is this Joe Budden trying to humble him a bit, or is he finally making a move he's been holding off on? Because let's be real, Joe doesn't really fire people like that. Outside of the whole Rory Farrell and Jameel Clay situation, and even then, that wasn't the original plan. And when Melissa Ford left, that was her choice, not his. So yeah, if something like this happens, it's a big shift. Now with B-Dot in the mix, I'm paying way closer attention to every dynamic in that room. But listen, what really stands out is how Flip and Mona are clicking. Because now Flip is giving Mona backup. He knows what it feels like to be the odd one out. And now the same energy that was once aimed at him is being redirected, and they don't even realize it. Meanwhile, Joe might be orchestrating all of this, setting B-Dot up in certain situations, knowing he's not actually going anywhere. Because let's be honest, it feels like the rest of the cast isn't really rocking with B-Dot yet, almost like they're testing him or even low-key trying to push him out. But what happens if B-Dot passes every test Joe throws at his way? Hold up, what if it's not just Ice on the hot seat? Now that's a twist nobody's ready for. But alright, I'll chill on the theories for now. Just keep your eyes open. Flip and Mona, I see the potential there, especially with how they balance each other out, and that's something they can really build on. Because yeah, they might have scrapped the monologue and tried to tone Flip down, but what happens if they team up and create a viral moment together? Now we're talking about a whole shift in power. Because if they stack viral moment after viral moment, suddenly they're leading the room. And here's the reality. Nobody's spot is locked in, except maybe Parks Valley, and even Ice's position might not be as safe as it once looked. One minute you're number one, next minute you're falling down the rankings. That's how fast things move. That's why those Potter of the Month conversations actually matter more than people think, because they show how quickly perception can flip. So if people think someone like Mark is running things right now, listen, one viral run can change that overnight. And if Flip and Mona capitalize on that energy, they could easily become the top duo in Joe's eyes, which honestly might have been the plan all along. But hey, I could be reaching. That's just how I'm seeing it. Y'all tell me what you think. And if you're rocking with this, tap in, like up, subscribe, and stay locked. Double drops, we outside.